Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. What is a companion video? Well, I'm glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, we take a little bit of time and take live questions. However, we don't always have time to get around to all the live questions that get sent in, but I want to make sure those questions get answered in a video, so I gather up those unused questions and we address them here on companion videos. So, it is Friday, March the 8th, and we've got a bunch of questions we got to get around to that we didn't have time for on this morning's John Campea Show, so let's dive right into it now. And we're going to get things started here with Lee Edworthy, who writes, just about to go see Captain Marvel, waiting for it to start. Well, man, I hope you have a good time. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you like it more than I did. I mean, I liked it quite a bit. I put it on the same levels, like, I've said this a lot, but I put it on the same levels like Doctor Strange that I really quite enjoyed. But it's just not upper echelon, but really good time at the movie theater, at least for me. I hope you like it as much or even more than I did, Lee. All right. In Poor Taste Humor writes, would you rather eat a personal pineapple pizza if you got to watch an Avengers tomorrow, or eat ketchup on eggs to watch Star Wars 2 months earlier? Well, neither. Because honestly, I don't want the first time I see Avengers Endgame or see Star Wars Episode 9 to be by myself. I want to see it with an audience. Even if that audience is like mostly film critics or whatever, or whether it's a fan screen or whatever, I want to watch these movies the way they're meant to be watched with a crowd. One way or the other. Whatever the crowd is, I want to see it with the crowd. So I am going to wait. I'm going to take a pass on both the pineapple pizza and the ketchup on eggs. Thank you very much. I'm going to take a pass on those things, and I'm going to wait till I get to see it in a theater. So that's the way I want to see them. Roman Bryant writes, who wins an Oscar first, Chris Pratt or Ryan Reynolds? It's funny because me and somebody were talking about Chris Pratt lately. And I'm going to guess Chris Pratt. Why? Because I think he's a better actor than Ryan Reynolds? No. I actually think Ryan Reynolds does have Oscar caliber talent. I do. I think he has that. But Chris Pratt seems to be going in the direction of trying more serious stuff lately. And The Kid, the Western coming out this weekend, is just another good example of that. Whereas Ryan Reynolds seems to be getting really comfortable in the more comedic stuff. Ryan Reynolds has done dramatic stuff, and he's amazing at it, but he seems to be going more comedic, whereas Chris Pratt seems to be trying to edge a little bit more towards the dramatic. So if I had to guess one of them would win an Oscar first, I'm going to guess Chris Pratt, but strictly because of the types of films I see him doing now. But who knows? Hopefully they both do someday. Luke Blackwell writes, John, you said the other day that you don't think there will be an Indiana Jones 5, but I recently Googled all Indiana Jones movies, and there is a number 5 set for 2021 with a poster as well. Well, there's no official poster. Just, whatever poster you saw is fan-made. But, yeah, we've been talking on this show for a long time, Luke, that they said they're doing Indiana Jones 5. Now, the reason it's set for 2021 is that it was set for 2020, and then just recently, they bumped it yet another year to 2021. And they've been saying this for a long, long time. And what I said was, I'm just starting to lose faith that it's actually going to happen. Like, they can say it's happening all they want. We've seen lots of movies where they said it's happening for a long time, and then it never comes to fruition. With Indiana Jones, it's just that, Harrison Ford is already like 77, 78, somewhere along there. And like the more they push this movie off, the more I'm losing faith. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, I know we've talked on this show many, many times that there's an Indiana Jones movie that they've announced and it's said is coming, but I'm just saying the longer they wait, I'm losing belief that it's actually going to happen. So hopefully it does, but I'm just saying I'm losing belief. It probably still will. I'm just losing belief. That's what I'm saying. All right. Rufino Salazar Jr. writes, you probably meant would. It would be awesome if our Avengers travel to a different universe where they encounter the What If Avengers. Tom Cruise as Iron Man, Joaquin Phoenix as Strange. Yeah, so a lot of people don't know what Rufino's referring to. He's being facetious about 2 Avengers teams meetings. But what he's referring to is that at one point, Tom Cruise was supposed to play Iron Man. Like, he was on board to play Iron Man before they ended up going with Robert Downey Jr., and he was going to be it. And I'm sure a lot of you guys will remember that Joaquin Phoenix was in negotiations, like in final negotiations, to play Doctor Strange. He just couldn't get over the whole, you have to sign up a multi-film deal, and he didn't want to do a multi-film deal, so he didn't do it, and the role eventually went to Benedict Cumberbatch. So, and which is great because Benedict was wonderful, but I'm sure Joaquin would have been great as well. So, yeah, you know what? I'd love to go down through the list. If I ever had a chance to really, honestly, privately sit down with Kevin Feige and say, okay, seriously, who's your first choice to play this? Who are some of the actors that came close to playing some of the other roles? That would be a very intriguing list to have. I would love to have that list, Rufino. Okay, Murray Reich writes, I saw Captain Marvel and it was pretty good. Wasn't blown away. The chemistry between Fury and Danvers was great. Mid-credit scene was great. Second one was cute, but I would skip. Best Marvel opening logo ever. Cat is great. Yeah, I feel the same way. I really liked it, but I wasn't blown away by it. You know, like I really liked. I liked Batman vs Superman, but I wasn't blown away by it. I like Doctor Strange, but I wasn't like blown away by it. But I thought it was really good, and that's how I put it. And you're right, the Fury and Danvers chemistry was great. I thought Ben Mendelsohn was fantastic. The mid-credit scene is, I've said before, I believe the most important and maybe one of the best post-credit scenes that Marvel's ever done. And yes, the opening Marvel logo stuff was really special. A lot of people in the theater I was in went nuts when they saw that, and I thought that was really special. Okay, let's move on here. James McHatton writes, John, I'm going to Las Vegas for the first time. Any tips on what are your top few must-see or do things? P.S. Love the movie news feed. Well, thanks so much, James. For what James is referring to is just this week, we started doing the movie news feed again, just to see if it's something you guys find interesting, because we only have time to talk about a certain amount of topics. And look, I want the John Campea Show, honestly, to be 45 minutes long, but it's been going an hour and a half lately. And even with an hour and a half, we only have so much time to do main topics. So there's been a number of news stories and whatever that we don't talk about on the show. So doing the movie news feed gives us a chance to integrate more movie news stories. And at least so you walk away, if you watch the John Campea Show, you're going to be more informed. And that's what we want to put in for. Now, I don't know if people find it all that useful or not, so I'm looking for you guys for feedback. So thank you for that feedback, James. Now, as far as Vegas, I love going to Vegas. Go 6 or 7 times a year. Wow. I would say stay on the Strip. There are lots of hotels in Vegas, but I really would recommend staying on the Strip. The energy is just there. It's more vibrant. While you're there, you're staying on the Strip, but go down to Old Vegas. Take a trip down to Old Vegas. I think you're going to have a really good time down there. It's amazing with the big arc over the streets and everything. It's really impressive. Things to do. Man, I just like playing poker and eating at all the great restaurants. But taking a show. There's so many good shows in Vegas. Taking a show or two. Plan time to do nothing but relax. That's key. Everybody goes to Vegas and they try to pack every second of the day. Plan time to relax and just enjoy being there. And I always recommend my favorite restaurant in Vegas. And I'm not even a big steak guy, but there's a restaurant in the Paris Hotel that's owned by Gordon Ramsay. And it's called Gordon Ramsay Steak. That's the name of it. It's a little on the pricier side. But if you're going to treat yourself out to one great night of eating, and there's so many good restaurants in Vegas, and not all of them are all that expensive, but if you're going to have like one really great meal, I recommend going to Gordon Ramsay Steak. It's in the Paris Hotel on the Strip. It's amazing, and get his beef Wellington. His beef Wellington is world famous, and it's to die for in this place. So that's my recommendation, James. I hope you have a good time. Okay. Murray Reich writes, I used the opportunity to try the order food drinks option on AMC's app. I love using that. At the New York City Theater, it was awesome, and they delivered it to your seat? Okay, that's new. They don't do that in Burbank. Because they do have the AMC, what he's talking about, and I don't have my phone here with me. Okay, so on the AMC app, when I go to see a movie at the AMC Burbank 16, they only do this for a few theaters right now, but I'm sure it's going to spread and go wide over the next year or so. But when I buy my tickets on the AMC app and then it says, hey, and do you want to order food in advance? And I can use the app to order my popcorn, soda, hot dog, whatever it is you want. And then you tell them what time you're going to be there. And then when you get to the theater, there's this big rack on the counter. And at the time that you say you're going to be there, there should be a box in that rack with your name on it and your order's there. So you don't even have to be in line. You just walk into the theater, grab your box, and head on into the theater. It's great, but Murray, they brought it to your seat? That's something they don't even do in Burbank. So I'm a little bit envious, man, because that's awesome. I wish mine did that. Rufino Salazar Jr. writes, Happy Friday. I was going to say happy birthday, John. Happy Friday, John and the gang. Well, thank you so much, Rufino. I've had a great day so far. Looking forward to a great weekend, and I hope you have a great weekend as well, sir. All right. Murray follows up. After seeing the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, 2 trailers later, they showed the trailer again. It was so awkward. Has that ever happened to you? You know what's funny? I've heard a couple of people say that a trailer played twice. I have never seen that happen in a theater. I'm sure it happens. I'm just saying I've never personally seen it. But that is weird. First of all, why are they playing a Spider-Man Far From Home? I thought it was Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Far From Home. And they played it twice? Now, I can understand. I still have never seen this. I could understand if they played one trailer for a movie and then later played a second trailer for that movie, but they were different trailers, like trailer 1 and trailer 2. I also have never seen that. But really, that must have been somebody goofed. That's the only thing I can guess is that somebody goofed. But no, I've never seen that happen, Murray. I'm sure some people in the theater must have been chuckling, though. Let's see. Radames Riaz writes, I saw a couple of reviews YouTube of Captain Marvel. Why nobody mentioned Agent Coulson and his role in the movie? Yeah, and you know what? I didn't mention Coulson. I don't think I did. I don't think I mentioned Coulson in mine either. Mostly, he's really not in much of the movie at all. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not like it's not just a quick cameo. He's in the movie more than that. But honestly, just so you can adjust your expectations, if you personally haven't seen the movie yet, don't expect to be, Captain Marvel with Captain Marvel, Nick Fury, and Agent Coulson. No. Coulson's not in the movie all that much. More than a cameo, but really not in it all that much. I liked having him in there. It was good to see him in there because I'm a big fan of Clark Gregg. I think he's amazing. But honestly, he's not in the movie that much, so that's probably why you don't hear people talking about him much. Rodney Alexander writes, saw Captain Marvel last night. Good movie, and the beginning Marvel logo scene was beyond awesome. My theater only showed 2 trailers. I guess they must watch your show and got the hint. Well, I doubt that. I would like to think I have that much influence in this industry, but I do not. Make no mistake about it. But that must be nice. You know what? Look, when it comes to trailers, I like trailers in front of a movie. To me, trailers is a part of the movie-going experience, and I enjoy it. But there's a limit. And we were talking the other day on the show about how, when you start getting into 22, 23, 24 minutes of trailers, it's like, come on, guys, we've got lives. You advertise 7 p.m. movie. It's 7 p.m. Don't be starting my movie at 7:30 if you're advertising a 7 p.m. showtime. You know what I mean? And I like trailers, but it's getting to be too much. So we talked about that. So apparently they only showed 2 trailers. Nice. That's nice. And yeah, how good is that opening Marvel credit? It's great. Don't want to give anything away. Just everybody make sure if you go to see Captain Marvel, make sure you're in your seats on time for the start of the movie because you're going to want to see the opening Marvel credits. Let's see. Chi-Town Rules 09 writes, I admit that I'm looking forward to Shazam more now, but aren't these Twitter reactions outstanding 95% of the time? No, not really, but they are most of the time, but there's a reason for that. Because whenever you get these early social media embargo lifted Twitter and social media reactions, it's because the studio has confidence in that movie to lift the social media reaction early in advance. So it's not like Holmes and Watson let the critics see it a month in advance and lifted the social media embargo 3 months before or 3 weeks before the movie came out. No. Studios don't do that for bad movies. Studios don't do that for movies that they don't have really high confidence in. And so, since you have the studios only lifting social media review embargoes early in advance on movies that they have high confidence in, well then, the odds are that the reviews are going to be good, because if it wasn't all that good, and if the studios weren't confident that the critics were really going to like it, they wouldn't lift the social media review embargo early. There's a reason you only see this happening with a handful of movies. Because studios won't do it for movies that they aren't supremely confident in. So Marvel would do it with the films they're really confident in. DC just did it with Shazam. So yeah, most of the time they're going to be positive reviews because the studios are only going to let it happen for movies they're confident the critics are going to like. So yeah, there's a little bit of extenuation. I would not say 95% of the time, but yeah, there you go. Okay, Dan M writes, "Hey guys, do you think that if DC had hired different directors for Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and Justice League, it would have been a totally different DCEU today, as opposed to the monotonous Snyderverse we have got?" Well, I don't know. I think you're being a little unfair to Zack Snyder, to be honest with you. I like Zack Snyder. There's a number of his films that I love. I think Man of Steel, you're talking to the wrong guy, Dan, because I think Man of Steel is a top 10 greatest comic book movie ever, and the most underrated comic book movie ever. And I like Batman vs. Superman, and I like Justice League. And, Snyder's also the guy who gave us 300. He's done a number of really good things. So I wouldn't throw Snyder on the bus like that. That being said, I will say this. In asking, would any movie be different if you had a different director? The answer is yes. The person most responsible, not exclusively, but the most responsible for a movie is the person sitting in the director's chair. You change the director, you're going to get a different movie, one way or the other. Two directors making the exact same movie based on the exact same script are going to come up with two different movies and very different feeling movies. So absolutely, yes. If DC had hired different directors for Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and Justice League, they would have all turned out feeling different. And maybe that would be good. Maybe it would be worse. I don't know. But absolutely, they would have ended up as different movies. That's beyond question, Dan. That's beyond question. All right. Magic K writes, "The person who used Stan Lee's Twitter account to promote Captain Marvel is very disrespectful to Stan. I think that's a huge misstep." I think I heard about this. I could be thinking of something completely different, so don't hold me to this, please. I thought I heard that was like his family that control that. And look, if it is, and again, I might be completely wrong about this, so don't hold this against me. If it was his family, well, they would know what he liked and didn't like. So I don't see a Marvel film being promoted by the Twitter account of Mr. Marvel is all that inappropriate, particularly if it was friends and family of his. I wouldn't see that as being all that disrespectful, considering he's in the film. So I don't see how that's that. I think if suddenly they took over his Twitter account to promote, I don't know, Holmes, I'm just using Holmes and Watson as an example today, I guess, to promote Holmes and Watson. Well, that's different. He's not associated with Holmes and Watson. He had nothing to do with Holmes and Watson. He has no connection with the history of Holmes and Watson. Would he really have promoted Holmes and Watson? Do you have any doubt that if Stan Lee were alive today, that he wouldn't be on his social media, whatever social media he used, to promote a Marvel film? Of course he would have. And if that's the case, is it really all that disrespectful? I don't know. I'd have to look more into it because maybe I'm missing a couple of significant pieces to the puzzle here that changes the texture of this story altogether. But on its surface, I don't see it to be all that disrespectful. Well, that's just me. Okay. Don Stiletto writes, what do you think of the lightsaber fights in the new trilogy? For me, they're underwhelming compared to the prequel fights. The prequels are Oh, then you continue on. The prequels are not the best, but none of the new movies have anything that can be compared to the Duel of the Fates fight. Well, yes, but I would say this. One of the things that, I don't like the prequels at all, but even in movies I don't like, there are things that I like. And there are a number of things in the prequels that I like, and a lot of them revolve around the lightsaber fights. Not all the lightsaber fights, but I still think the Qui-Gon, Ben, or Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul fight from Phantom Menace is fantastic. It's fantastic. It's my second favorite lightsaber fight to watch, other than the greatest lightsaber fight ever, Luke, Vader in the Emperor's Throne Room, Return of the Jedi. That's got all the drama and the emotion and the music and the power of it. It's just perfect. But other than that one, I love that fight, man. I love that. And I know a lot of people hate on it. I don't care. I love the Yoda Dooku fight. I love the Yoda Dooku fight. I think it's a great fight. A lot of people don't like Yoda bouncing around, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was great. I get a big kick out of it. I hate that movie, but I think that scene's great. So yeah, I definitely think, and remember, in the prequels, you're getting lightsaber fights between, like, extensive Force veterans. You're talking about trained Jedi. You're talking about lifelong Sith. You're talking about, these are the guys you're seeing in those fights, right? When you're getting into the new films, yeah, Rey has been fighting her whole life just to survive and fighting with that stick. She knows how to do melee combat, but she's not a trained Jedi. And in that first fight we saw between her and Kylo Ren out in that forest on Starkiller Base, remember, she's never been although she's fought her whole life, she knows how to fight, she's not a trained Jedi. And Kylo Ren was dying. Kylo Ren had just been shot in the gut by Chewbacca's bowcaster. A bowcaster that we had seen early in the film send stormtroopers flying 50 feet across the room, right? And killing them. Kylo was bleeding out. He was dying. He had been shot with Chewie's bowcaster, and he's trying to have a fight against two people, by the way. A guy trained as a stormtrooper, and this girl who's got Force abilities and had been grown up fighting for survival her whole life. Under normal circumstances, he just wipes them out like that, but he was literally dying. Let me shoot you in the stomach with a .22 and then see you fight somebody. That's the essential thing of it. So I agree. I think the lightsaber battles in the prequels were better, but they should have been better. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my feelings on that. Let's see. Paul M. writes, what's your most memorable behind-the-scene moment? Of what? Like a behind the scenes on DVD? I'll be honest with you, Paul, I don't know how to answer your question because I don't know what it is you're asking specifically. Sorry about that, man. Pool of Dead writes, enjoyed Captain Marvel. Doesn't rank up with recent Phase 3 MCU films, but a good time. Got me way more hyped for Endgame, though. Hashtag justice for Thanos. I like that. And that's what I've been saying. One of the things I've been saying to people is, look, I think Captain Marvel's quite good, but some people asking me, John, do I need to see Captain Marvel in order to watch Endgame? And my response has been this, and I think this is kind of right up, I think you can attest to this, Pool of Dead. What I've been saying is, no. Look, there's nothing you have to see in Captain Marvel that makes it like, if you go see Endgame without seeing Captain Marvel, you're going to have no idea what's going on in this movie. Nah. If you're somebody who's seen all the trailers for Captain Marvel and you don't think it looks good to you and it doesn't look like a movie that will appeal to you, you don't have to see Captain Marvel in order to go see Endgame. You don't. Now, will it add a little bit? Sure. But the big thing is, watching Captain Marvel, and I won't explain how or why, but watching Captain Marvel will get you more hyped for Avengers Endgame. It will get you more hyped for Avengers Endgame. But do you need to see it in order to watch Endgame? I would say no. No. If you've seen the trailers and it's not working for you and it doesn't look like a film that appeals to you, you don't need to see it. Save your money, save your time, wait for Endgame. If it looks like it's appealed to you, by all means, go see it. I think you're going to have a good time. But you don't have to see it to watch Endgame. So that's my thought. And I like that. Justice for Thanos. That's good. I like that. Okay. Raymond Verrata writes, what if Disney fans sounded like MCU fans? Well, technically those are the same people because Marvel is Disney, but whatever. Aladdin in 2 months? Where's the trailer? No new genie shots? A whole new world? Post-credit scene? Post-credit scene, yeah. But look, even I'll admit, I have been saying, hey guys, for Aladdin specifically, Raymond, we've had 2 trailers or 2 spots. Let's call them spots. We've had 2 spots so far, and not a single line of dialogue from our main title character, Aladdin. Not a single line of dialogue from the lead female character, Jasmine. And 1 line of dialogue from the genie. In 2 spots. This movie's coming out soon. And I'm sorry, Disney, but you've given me no reason to feel excited for this movie yet. You've shown, your trailers have been wide set shots. That's all your trailers have been, wide set shots. If you think just slap the title Aladdin on it and that's good enough, no, it's not. It's not. You put out 2 spots, we're getting close to release the movie, and you haven't let us hear 1 line of dialogue from the title character. I'll be frank with you. It starts to make me suspect you're hiding this kid's acting. And look, I know nothing about this kid who's playing Aladdin. I trust you guys. You cast him great, but I know nothing about him. I don't know that he can act because I've never seen him in anything. And when you you've put out 2 spots and we're this close to the movie coming out and you haven't let us hear him say 1 line, it makes me suspicious. That's all I'm saying, is it makes me suspicious. It makes me feel like you don't have confidence in this movie. And I want you to have confidence in this movie, because if you don't show confidence in this movie, why should I as a film fan feel confidence in the movie? You know what I'm saying? So there's a little bit of that. There is a little bit of that, Raymond, I must admit, even coming from me. Anyway, Derek Woodrin writes, good morning, gang. Watched Captain Marvel last night, and surprisingly, a Spider-Verse trailer played saying coming December 2018. Everyone was confused and joked about it at the time. Well, it's kind of funny because I accidentally said Spider-Verse earlier, didn't I? Anyway, the only thing I can guess is I just saw a report that Sony is going to re-release Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for like a weekend or something like that in theaters. Maybe it was for that and they just forgot to put the right date on it. I don't know. That is odd. Again, seems like a gaffe. Seems like somebody just made a mistake and punched in the wrong code, because it's all digital now, right? Kind of sounds like somebody just punched in the wrong code for the wrong trailer and just had but that is odd. I've never seen that. I've never seen a trailer in a movie, a new movie, for another movie that came out 4 months ago. Like, I've never seen that happen. So that I could see why people, Derek, would in your theater would feel a little confused and would probably joke about it. All right. Paul Andrew writes, saw Captain Marvel in IMAX last night. Great music. I'm hearing a lot of people say they like the music. And if you are a fan of 90s music, yeah, you're probably going to walk out and that might be the first thing you're talking about is the music, because it is a really cool music. It's funny. Anne didn't like the music selection. Anne just went to go see Captain America. I keep saying Captain America. Anne just went to go see Captain Marvel again this morning. So that was her second viewing. And we were talking about it and the music came up and she goes, yeah, I actually don't think she didn't like their music selection for the movie. I thought the music selection for the movie was pretty good, but clearly you did too. All right. Rickan Man 85 writes, hey guys, saw Captain Marvel last night and enjoyed it. Solid origin movie, I think. Tempted to grab the hot toy, Rob, with all the positives about Shazam. Please give me a hot toy of that. Yeah, I mean, the response, look, I've been psyched for Shazam ever since they announced who they cast in it. Not because I'm like the world's biggest Zach Levi fan. I am a Zach Levi fan, but I'm not like the world's biggest Zachary Levi fan. But because by casting him, and we talked about this on the show earlier, by casting him in the role, you essentially told me what kind of a movie this is going to be. And when I recognized what the casting of Zach Levi meant for what kind of movie it was going to be, I got really excited, because I remember thinking that tone that Zachary Levi brings, That's the exact tone you should be going for with a Shazam movie. And I got excited about it. And I have loved the trailers. I think everything's looked great. And then yesterday when they announced that they were lifting the review embargo, at least the social media review embargo, this early, screaming confidence, I've just been stoked. And I'm very excited for this movie, have been excited for this movie, cannot wait. And I'm glad you enjoyed Captain Marvel as well. And it's a good couple of months to be a comic book movie fan, man. We got Captain Marvel, we got Shazam, we got Avengers Endgame. My God, we just got just disgusting riches we're getting as comic book fans right now. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, I saw X-Men with a bunch of family and friends. During the first scene, we were all asking each other if we were in the right theater. No kidding. And you know what? Listen, that very well could be. The opening scene of X-Men could be the most important scene in comic book movie history, and here's why. There have been producers, including the Batman, one of the producers of the Christopher Nolan Batman film, said, it was when we saw, talking about Hollywood producers, he said, it's when we saw X-Men that we realized the time had come that we can make these kinds of comic book movies now. We didn't have to make the Christopher Reeve, not bagging on the Christopher Reeve Superman, but that was a certain kind of comic book movie that everybody just always assumed comic book movies would be. And he said it was when we saw X-Men that we realized something had changed, that we can make comic book movies with deeper, darker themes, with mature content, but still for everybody and all this kind of stuff. And I would propose to you that is that opening scene. I got to put up an Instagram post about this now that I'm thinking about it. I would propose to you that that opening scene with Eric Magneto as a kid in the concentration camps, being separated from his family, that scene changed comic book movies forever. And it changed what could be done with comic book movies forever. And as the dude from the Dark Knight series said, it made them realize we can make a different kind of comic book movie now. And this whole new golden age of comic book movies we live in now is because of X-Men. It's because of that first X-Men film. Now, whether you like it or not, that's besides the point. That was the movie that told the Hollywood producers, we can do these types of movies. They can be good. They can be adult, not just adult as in hard material, like blood and swearing. No, adult as in mature thematic things in it. And because you're talking about having a survivor of the German exterminations and all that kind of stuff and how that shaped his view of mankind and blah, blah. That's heady stuff for a comic book movie. That's heady stuff. And I remember still watching that scene for the first time being I think everybody's jaw was on the floor. It's like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is awesome. And I would contend that we would not have the golden age of comic book movies that we have today were it not for that movie and maybe even specifically for that scene. And maybe in that sense, that scene might be the most, not the best scene in all of comic book movie history, but might be the most important scene in comic books, at least for this golden age of comic book movies. And yeah, it was just remarkable. Just remarkable. And yeah, it would have people turning themselves and say, wait a minute, is this X-Men? Is this the boop, 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 spandex wearing comic book movie superheroes? Because this is pretty heavy. And it's great. And I love it. So I'm thanks for pointing that out, Ryan. I really like that. All right. Luis David writes, man, King Theoden battle speech from The Return of the King always pumps me up. Dude, don't even get me started. You know, what was it? Spears will be shaken, shields will be splintered, to ruin, death, death, death. Get that speech by King Theoden. I can't remember it word for word, but I just know every time I watch that speech, man, and he's riding. It reminds me a lot of the Braveheart moment. As Braveheart, William Wallace is riding up and down saying, they could never take our freedom. I mean, King Theoden's scene in there reminds me a lot of that in all the best ways. And that scene is amazing. And then when they start screaming, death, and they charge over the hill, and the orcs look up, and they just see this ocean of Rohan, Riders of Rohan coming down. Awesome scene. Dude, look at the hair standing up on my arm. Look at the size of the goosebumps on my arm just thinking about that scene. It's absolutely incredible. I love that scene. All right. Murray Reich writes, after John pesters Rob to see Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse, John still didn't see Happy Death Day 2 yet. Let's go, guys. What are you waiting for? You know what? I tried to go see it the other day, and it wasn't playing anymore. It came and went. Now, let me just double check. But yeah. Hold on a second. It's not playing at my local theater anymore. Like, it literally came on, and I just slept on it too long. Now I'm going to have to wait for it to come out on home video, which is too bad. It sucks because I was so stoked for that movie. And everybody tells me it's great. Sucks that it did so badly at the box office. The first one made $125 million on like a $9 million budget. No, sorry. On like a $4.5 million budget. On a $4.5 million budget, the first one made $125 million. Are you kidding me? And it's great, and everybody loved it, and so they put out the sequel. You figure it'd make at least as much. It only made $55 million. Made less than half of the original one, which really sucks. I mean, but I'm part of the problem because I didn't get out to see it. Artur Mansouri writes, Man of Steel, one of the most underrated comic book films. Dude, no, it is the most underrated comic book film. Of course, it's all subjective, but in my opinion, by far, the most underrated comic book film is Man of Steel. I think the second most underrated comic book film of all time is the original Thor with that Kenneth Branagh directed. The first Thor movie, I think, is totally underappreciated. That movie's great. Like, great. And the underlying themes of the film are so good. The whole father and sons stuff thing that Kenneth Branagh, in a very Shakespearean kind of way, that Kenneth Branagh brings to the film, I just thought it was wonderful, and I think it's... But yeah, Man of Steel, to me, the most underrated superhero film ever. Bellboy Baggins, I love that username. Captain Marvel was good, liked the pace and humor. I love the humor in it, but I'll say this. I had a little bit of issues with the pacing in the first half of the movie. I thought the first half of the movie had some pacing issues. I do, honestly. And that's one of my criticisms of the film is, I mean, they seem to find their way by the time they got to the second half of the film. The pacing, even when there wasn't action going on, the pacing just felt better in the second half of the film. It's almost like they took a little while to find their footing and then they got going. But yeah, to me, that was one of the issues. But the pace clearly worked for you, Bellboy. And I honestly, I thought the humor was great. I laughed a lot in that film. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, fans after Force Awakens, Snoke sucks and there's no way I'm ever going to care about him. Fans after The Last Jedi. What do you mean Snoke didn't have some huge backstory that ties into everything? Yeah, well, we movie fans, Ryan, can be a fickle bunch, can't we? And it's not just Star Wars fans or Marvel fans or DC fans or James Bond fans or Jason Bourne fans or whatever. Movie fans can be a fickle bunch. And we cannot always be the most consistent in the things that we cry about, all of us included. But I mean, one of the things to me, when people are crying about, Snoke was totally wasted. Why? Because they never told us where it came from. What was his backstory? What was his whole thing? You have to tell us that. I'm like, for the entire original trilogy of Star Wars, we didn't know one thing about Emperor Palpatine. Not a thing. It wasn't until over a decade later, almost decades later, that they went into his background as, a senator from Naboo and all this kind of... It was decades later. In that original Star Wars trilogy, we knew dick about Palpatine. I don't even think they ever said his name. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think they ever said his name, Palpatine, in the original trilogy. It was the Emperor. It wasn't Darth Sidious, it was the Emperor. And we knew nothing about him. All we needed to know about the Emperor was that he was powerful and that he was bad. That's all we needed to know. And so when it came to Snoke, they just applied the same rules. All we needed to know about Snoke was that he was powerful and that he was bad. That's all we needed to know. We didn't need to know where he came from. How did he take over the First Order? How did this happen? We didn't know any of that stuff about the Emperor in the original trilogy, and it was perfectly fine. So Anyway, yeah, that's just an ongoing debate that me and some of my friends have, Ryan. But you're right. We can all be a fickle bunch. That includes you. That includes me. It includes all of us. All right. Kadir Hicks writes, thoughts, Christmas fantasy meets Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. I have no idea what you're asking, Kadir. Thoughts, Christmas fantasy meets Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. I just don't know what it is you're asking, man. I'm sorry, dude. I don't know how to respond. Aaron Barnett writes, enough is enough. I've had it with these mother effing scrolls on this mother effing planet. Well, yes, I can assure you, spoiler alert, Sam Jackson does not say that in the movie. This is a PG-13 movie. He ain't pulling out mother effer. He's not pulling that out in a PG-13 movie, which I'm sure you knew already. But Fury's great. Fury's great in this movie. I really quite enjoy him a lot in this movie. But man, wouldn't it have almost been worth the R rating just to have him say that? Wouldn't it have almost been worth the entire thing to make it rated R just to have him say that one line? That would have been pretty fun. All right. Scott Kolonko writes, DC TV shows across the board have recently had name drops or had appearances from Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, etc. Do you think in the near future all DC TV restrictions will end? They shouldn't. They shouldn't, but they may. Look, what DC believed for a long time is that if you just throw Batman or Superman in anything, you devalue those characters. And they were right. Because they started using Superman in Supergirl, and it has devalued that character. You know, the character Superman used to be this treasured, honored thing. And now it's been devalued a lot. And I fear that's going to happen to all their characters now. I think they're going to devalue all of them. I'm especially afraid of Batman, but apparently I haven't seen Titans, so I don't know, but apparently they have Batman and Titans. So the more you use something, the less valuable it becomes. And I think you're right, Scott. I think a time is coming when they're going to have... Look, for CW, it's cool. You do your characters a certain way, and they live in a certain world, and we accept that, and it works, and I'm a fan. But at the same time, I fear we're going to get Walmart versions. Like Superman on Supergirl is a Walmart version of Superman. It's a strict Walmart version of Superman. And I now fear we're going to get Walmart versions of Batman and Walmart versions of Wonder Woman and Walmart versions of Aquaman and all these things. And it's just going to overall devalue the specialness of the characters. Now, you can make an argument, well, John, they did it with The Flash. True. That's true. But at least they started with The Flash. Like, The Flash started on television, right? That came first. So I don't know. I haven't really thought it all out, but it just does seem to me like CW produces Walmart versions, and hey, some Walmart stuff is great, and I enjoy some Walmart stuff. I love The Flash show. I love Black Lightning, all that kind of stuff, but yeah, Superman's a Walmart version of Superman, and it has devalued the name. And my fear is CW can engage in all these characters, try to give themselves a little ratings boost, but at the end of the day, it's going to be negative for Warner Brothers because it's just going to devalue their characters. Anyway, I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong about that. I'm just saying that's my fear. That's my fear. Okay, anyway. Ben Rayner writes, on my way to see Captain Marvel, pumped. I hope you had a good time, Ben. I had a good time. Clearly, a lot of people in here are having a good time. I'm curious to know your thoughts once you do see it. The Mono Report writes, 20 years since Kubrick died, favorite of his films. Oh, man, I don't know. I mean, favorite Kubrick film is one of those topics to me that, depending on the day you ask me, my answer could change. I mean, everybody's going to say 2001. I'm actually kind of a fan of Eyes Wide Shut, to be honest with you. So depending on the day you ask me, I could give a different answer. For now, I'll go 2001. I'm Upset writes, what's worse, Notorious or All Eyes on Me? All Eyes on Me. Yeah. All Eyes on Me, I saw very little, if no, redeeming qualities in that movie. Notorious I did, but yeah, I'm going to say All Eyes on Me was worse. Hugo Ranchero writes, if Shazam has multiple sequels, do you think they will let the young Billy Batson age, or will they keep recasting the actor to keep him young? Oh, no. You keep him that age. So, no, sorry, let me rephrase. You keep the actor. I think you keep the actor. Now, don't get me wrong. If they do Shazam for, 15 years, well, then maybe you want to reboot the character at some point. But no, if we get Shazam 2 and 3, I would say we grow. The part of the things that makes these franchises valuable is that we grow with these characters and we go along a journey with these characters. If you don't let the characters go on a journey, then why should the audience come along for the journey with you? And so I think they definitely keep the kid. I for sure think they keep the kid. Now, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I think they keep the kid for sure, man. Yeah, absolutely. Let the audience go on the journey with the character. Let's see the character's journey. And that involves him maybe growing up a few years. I think that's fine. All right. Santez Henderson writes, I like Captain Marvel, but I didn't love it. I do feel as though the direction of the movie wasn't the best. They didn't know how to get the best performances from all the actors. That's big to me. 3 out of 5. I'm going to disagree with you. I mean, I had my issues too, but I actually thought the performances were all great. I thought they got great stuff out of Samuel Jackson. I thought they got great stuff out of Brie Larson. I think they got great stuff. I'm trying to remember the name of the girl who played Captain Marvel, Carol's best friend. But I thought she was great. I thought Ben Mendelsohn was spectacular. I've got a laundry list of issues I have with the movie. But yeah, for me personally, Santez, I wouldn't say it's the performances out of the actors. I thought they all did a pretty damn good job at that. And I think I only liked the movie slightly better than you did. But yeah, I had a good time with it, and I liked it. I've already talked in this video about some of my issues, but yeah, the performances isn't one of the issues that I personally had, but you did, and hey, that's what being a film fan is. We all see the movies. It hits us in different ways. That hit you in a certain way. It hit me in a certain way. So yeah, nothing wrong with that. All right. Andrew Naranjo writes, Captain Marvel's directors... Let me try that again. Captain Marvel's directors haven't been in the promotions as much compared to the other MCU directors. Is Marvel not confident in these directors? Oh, no. That's not it at all. Look, when the first Ant-Man was coming out, they didn't pump and promote directed by Peyton Reed, because nobody knew who the hell Peyton Reed was. Even when the first Winter Soldier was coming out, the average person could not have told you that, oh, it's being directed by the Russo brothers. Because nobody gave a flip about who the Russo brothers were at the time. When Winter Soldier was being done, right? At the time. And they weren't big name people, nor was Peyton Reed a big name person. And by the way, Scott Derrickson was quite established, and even he wasn't pumped or promoted or used in the promotion all that much with Doctor Strange as some of the other directors were. Now, of course, once the Russo brothers became the Russo brothers, then sure, that they started to use them a whole bunch more as well. So, no, man, and look, the Peyton Reed, they liked him. They didn't use him in the promotion all that much, and they didn't pump his name and say, oh, directed by Peyton Reed. But they loved him, and they brought him back for Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, no, them not using them much or promoting their names all that much has nothing to do. Because you only pump their names if their names can help market the movie. If they can't, if their names aren't highly recognizable and don't necessarily promote the movie, then you don't put out their names. Not a big deal. So no, that does not mean that at all, Andrew. Not in the least. Not in the slightest. Doesn't mean that. Not in the least. By the way, can you tell me who directed Happy Death Day? No. Because it's not a name you know or recognize, but that doesn't mean that Blumhouse didn't love the work he did. It's just that, you don't know the name. All right. Let's move on here. SH1F722 looking to start creating content. Any recommendations on microphones? Well, it depends on your price point. I'll give you 2 recommendations because these are mics that I like to use. I'm going to assume if you're just starting, you're probably going to want to use a USB mic. Just because it's easier. Like a lot of the better mics are not USB mics, they're XLR mics. But if you're just getting started, it's very easy to use a USB mic and just plug it in and stuff like that. Now, a lot of people would say the Blue Snowball, the Blue Yeti. I have used both those mics. I own both those mics. They're good and solid. But if you want to step it up a little bit, I would say 2 things. Actually, I just fortuitously have this here. See if I can get into the camera here. Okay, so this mic right here. This is the Samson Q2U. Now, this is a very good microphone. I will use this microphone for some podcasting. That's why I've got this and another identical one set up over there on another arm. The great thing about the Samson Q2U is that two things. Number one, it's only about 50 or 60 bucks, which is nice. The second great thing about it is it sounds quite good. The third great thing about it is both an XLR and a USB mic. If you've got a mixer and an audio interface and you want to use it by XLR, you can do that. If you don't and you just want to plug it into the USB on your computer, guess what? That microphone has USB. It's both. Hardly any microphones have that combination. Audio-Technica has one called, I think it's the ATR 2100. That's also a very good mic, and I've used it, and that's XLR and USB. It's the only other one that I know of that is XLR and USB. Now, if you really want to step it up more, but you want to stay in a USB mic situation, this bad boy right here. This is the Rode Podcaster microphone. It is the identical twin brother of the excellent mic, the Rode Procaster, made by Rode as well. And it looks identical to this, except it's dark gray. The Procaster is dark gray, but the only difference is the Procaster is a XLR microphone. The Podcaster, exact same mic, but it's USB. Another nice thing about it is, you can't see it here, but there's a little headphone jack, so you can monitor your stuff there as well. This is a supreme, excellent microphone. Excellent microphone. The problem is, unlike the Samson 2QR or Q2U, that is only about 60 bucks, this one will run you a little bit more. This one will run you about 230 up to 290 bucks. So anywhere between 230, 290 bucks. So it depends on what you want. Look, the Samson, excellent sound quality. Let me rephrase. The Samson, very good sound quality. Very good. This bad boy, excellent audio quality. And I'm just plugging it into my USB and recording. But so I would suggest start a little bit less expensive. Start with something like that, or get the Audio-Technica version. I believe it's the ATR 2100. And then if not this, you know what? I should start putting up some videos. I get a lot of people ask me, because I've been doing this for a long time. I should start putting up some individual videos talking about how to get your own show going. Because I put out a video like 5 years ago. It's a 2-hour video on how to get started. Instead of doing like another 2 or 3 hour video, I should just start making some like individual short little videos about, hey, you want to do some podcasting or YouTubing? Here's some mics you should try. Hey, you're going to try YouTubing? Here's how you do lighting. Hey, here's some cameras that you should use for different price ranges. Hey, here's the software you should be using. Hey, here's some technique. Maybe I should start doing that. I don't know. I'm thinking about that. Anyway, so those are two right now. There's about 50 other microphones I could talk about, but I'll just mention those now. Okay. Zach J. Reviews writes, will you ever attend South by Southwest? I have attended South by Southwest. You would love it, and I do love it. I have been to Austin. I've gone to South by Southwest a couple of times, and I've always had a really good time. But, it costs, what's it called? Money. It costs money to fly to Texas and to get hotels and to eat and feed yourself while you're there. And it ain't cheap. So, I would like to go back again. But, I go to Comic-Con every year, and I try to take vacations to go back home and visit family, and, it's all money, man. I mean, I know everybody thinks I'm rich. And don't get me wrong, I do okay. But, I mean, every dollar I feel like every dollar I make, I put into the show. I put into making the show better. And I put into gear and equipment to try to make the show as good as it can be. And I don't have a lot of money left over to just fly to Austin, Texas or anything like that. So I'd like to go again, though, sometime. I would like to do it again because I do love Austin, man. I got to say, I love Austin. Okay. Where are we at? Opinionated Uploads. I like that name, writes, my father was a lighthouse keeper. My mother was a queen. They were never meant to meet, but their love saved the world. Look, I'm going to tell you what. No, there's no getting around. That's a cheesy, cringy line. But it worked. The thing about Aquaman, this is one of the really cool things about Aquaman, and one of the reasons why I appreciate the movie the way I do. There are a number of things in that movie that on their own are kind of cheesy. But somehow, within the context of what James Wan put together, it works. That line is that is a cheesy, cheesy line. But when you see it in the context of Aquaman, it totally works. And I feel like in Aquaman, there's a bunch of those moments that would be cringy almost anywhere else. But here it kind of works, you know? And there's something great about that. It's like James Wan is a chemist. This chemical is acidic. But if you put it with this chemical, it actually flattens out. And it's like James Wan knew how to do it. I think that's one of the reasons why I appreciated Aquaman as much as I did. All right. Toshi Victor writes, how good was the first Avengers trailer? Great for me. I'll be honest with you. I can't remember the first Avengers trailer. Because I can't remember, like everybody remembers the trailer that has the big sweeping circular shot of the Avengers, right? Iconic. Can't remember if that was in the first trailer or not. Because it's been a number of years since Avengers came out. And I'm trying to remember the first one. I can't remember. Now I'm going to want to go back and watch the first Avengers trailer to know what we're talking about. All right. Final question today, and then we are all caught up. Comes to us from Chris Parson, who writes, what is your favorite fictional sword? Oh, that's easy. The lightsaber. The lightsaber is absolutely my favorite fictional sword. Now, if we had to go besides lightsabers, I would have to say Thundercats, the Eye of Thundera. I probably have to go because it also grew, right? So I will say my favorite fictional sword, other than lightsabers, which is my favorite fictional sword. Other than lightsabers, I will go the Eye of Thundera from Thundercats. So that's my guess. Or that's my pick at this point, at any rate. All right, guys. That will do it for today's edition of the companion videos. We are now all caught up on all the questions that got sent in here today. By the way, I'm going to let you guys know this weekend, Sunday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, is when me and Robert are doing our all open spoiler discussion of Captain Marvel. If you've seen the movie, make sure you come and join us Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. New York time or East Coast time. Make sure you guys come and join us for that. Also, special thank you to all you guys who are Patreon supporters. Listen, Patreon supporters make my channel possible. If you would like to check it out, I would love it if you would go to www.patreon.com/John Campea. Get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter keeps these shows on the air, and the little perks. There are a couple of little perks of being Patreon supporters, like our exclusive Facebook group. We got an exclusive podcast exclusively only for our Patreon supporters, audio-only podcasts of the John Campea Show, which is only available to our Patreon supporters, and maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too. All right, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thank you so much for being here and letting me be a part of your day. My name is John Campea, and until our next video, bye-bye.